Good morning. My name is Bedford, and I've been asked to share a little bit about my life and how I became a Christian and what my life's been like since. I was raised in West Des Moines, Iowa, to a family with one sister and two parents. We went to the Methodist Church in Des Moines, went to youth group every week, went to church every week, thought we were doing pretty well. About age 12, I went with my family to a Billy Graham Association evangelistic event with one of the associate evangelists. And during that time, I just felt this burning in my heart that had to do with the message, and I went forward and I accepted Christ that night. I'm not really sure I understood what I was doing. I got some evangelistic follow-up Bible study materials in the mail, but my church was not participating in the event, so I really didn't have any follow-up, and I pretty much went back to my normal doing what I was always doing, I guess. Graduated from high school, did pretty well in high school, stayed out of most of the trouble. I went to the University of Iowa, and there the first couple of years I spent in the dorm and also joined a fraternity. In the dorm, I was exposed to a lot of alcohol and drug use. I did try it. I didn't like drugs, so I stayed with alcohol. When I moved into the fraternity, this was pretty different. I had more of a focus on alcohol and girls than I had on studying, and my grade point average showed that. I graduated from the University of Iowa in 1972, but I had a grade point average of 1.96, and that's really nothing to smile about. And I would normally be ashamed of that, except that I had better things to come, and that's what I'm going to tell you about now. In 1972, after I graduated, I came back to I came back to Iowa City to live because I wanted to continue to party, and I had two of my former fraternity brothers room with me, and they were just as wild of partiers as I was, and this was going to be great. I had a full-time job working at Shakey's Pizza Parlor in Iowa City for a whole $1.25 an hour, which was minimum wage back then, and all I had to worry about was getting enough money to drink, and when I was working I could have beer or whatever I wanted there too. So I thought this would be a great time. Well, Dave Lux was one of my fraternity brothers who's living with me, as was John Johnston, and some of you may know them. Dave became a Christian that summer before we moved in together, so he no longer was interested in the wild party life, but that was okay. We were really close friends. I knew John would be my stalwart. John was wilder than all of us, and so I decided that we were going to have a good time, and we did for about a month or so. And then Dave, well, not really Dave, but the Holy Spirit got to John, and John became a Christian, and all of a sudden I was partying alone, and that's no fun. So I was working at Shakey's. John was working at Shakey's also, and one night in December of 1972 he invited me to come to a student sailing club pizza party. Now, it was a different kind of pizza than Shakey's, so I thought, well, sure, why not? Free food and see what's going on. It wasn't a sailing club. It was a group called the Navigators. Now, some of you may know what the Navigators is. It's a Christian student group, and I'm sure some of you are chuckling right now. But anyway, I went there that night. They had a guest speaker, and he gave a very strong gospel presentation, and I felt that same burning in my chest and my heart that I'd felt back when I was 12. But I was also prideful and stubborn. I wasn't going to let those guys get to me, and so I kind of ignored it. But one thing I couldn't ignore, and that was the fact that the speaker kept saying, If God's calling you, if the Holy Spirit is prompting you, don't procrastinate. Don't procrastinate. Well, that kind of haunted me, but I went home that night, didn't talk to anybody. They thought I was mad. Went to bed, tried to sleep, but I couldn't sleep. All I could think of was don't procrastinate. And so finally, I took care of business that night, and I knelt beside my bed, and I gave my life to Jesus Christ, because I knew that I had to do that. I'd gone through a bunch of hardship, bad relationships, money problems, and I just wasn't really very happy in my life. So I then later, after that, got involved with a good church out in Coralville Evangelical Free Church. The pastor was Pastor David Hackman. Many of you know David Hackman and know what a great teacher and mentor he was. I'm very grateful for his time that he gave me in mentoring me and discipling me and even challenging me with the bent finger and all. But we did that for many years, but we got involved also with a group called Good News Bible Church. Actually, Pastor Hackman, John Johnston, and I, and a couple other, or a few other men in the community got together in July, I believe, of 1972, and decided we wanted to start a new ministry in Iowa City, and that became Good News Bible Church. Since that time, the church has grown. I've become friends with so many different people in my life that I'm so grateful for. Got a wonderful wife and 3 children and a great son and daughter-in-laws and 13 grandchildren. I went back to the university, believe it or not, got a master's degree with a little bit better grade average. I graduated with a 3.83. I had a career that I truly loved for nearly 44 years, and I've since retired from. And truly, my perspective in life has changed. I've had many blessings. I could say I met my wife during my experience with being involved with the Navigators shortly after I became a Christian. We've really been blessed in so many ways. But the perspective change that I have gotten through my relationship with Christ is that I am now secure and trusting God in all things that happen. Certainly I worry at times, and I have those natural feelings, but I also have an intent trust, knowing that all things will work for good for those who love God and are called according to His purpose. I want to claim that, and I do claim that. And it hasn't always been easy either. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that my life has been perfect. Roxy and I lost our oldest son when he was 25 years old, and God took him home to be with Him in glory. And yes, we miss him, but we know exactly where he is, and we know we're going to see him again. He left 2 beautiful girls who hadn't even been born yet, and they're 17 years old now, and wonderful young women, and we're so grateful for them and for all of our family. So there's been ups and downs, but through it all, God has been really there for us. And I think that the most important thing, for me anyway, has been the relationship, the personal relationship that I have with the Creator of the universe, and know that He is sovereign in all things. Through His Holy Spirit that prompts me and supports me and encourages me, and the personal relationship I have through Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. I'd like to share my life verse with you today. It's Galatians 2:20, and because I always stumble on a word or two, I'm going to read it here rather than do it from memory. But it says, I've been crucified with Christ, and it's no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. And Christ who lives in me, and the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. I want to encourage you to think about what I've said. If you've got questions about my life, and there's lots of things I didn't include in this, you're welcome to ask. If you want to know more about my faith and how you can have a relationship with Jesus Christ, then come and talk to me. I promise you, I don't twist people's arms, but I do try and share the love that I've experienced. And I want to encourage you that you can have a relationship with God through Jesus, just like I do, and that you'll be blessed also. I wish you a great day, and I wish you Godspeed and God's blessing in your life. Thanks for giving me your time. And now we'll hopefully see you down the road.